Hello there, it's Jay here from Jay's Vintage Junk, and it's just going to be a quick video this today. We're back on the ZX81 project, and I have decided which monitor I'm going to go with, and it is this one here. I would have really liked to get that to work in the project, but no matter what I try, I can't get it to stop fading out after 10 or 20 seconds of use. I'm sure it's something to do with the fact that the ZX81 doesn't exactly produce the most standard of video signals. I'm sure I'm going to build up that 555 based back porch timer circuit. I think it's something that Jules Pacoulon, if you have a look for his YouTube channel, if you're into spectrums and things like that, it's fantastic. But it's something that he came up with. Basically, it reintroduces a bit of back porch into ZX81s that don't really produce, and Z80s that don't really produce a really good, sorry, ZX80s that don't produce a really good back porch. Now, this one that I'm working on, this board, is an issue 3, and the ULA on this is meant to produce a back porch, but I don't think even then it's very standard, and I don't think this monitor really likes it. This monitor, however, doesn't seem to have a problem with it at all. If I just demonstrate, I'm going to switch this monitor on. As we can see, straight away we've got a little flashing cursor there. We can get quite, that's with the contrast turned right up. I mean, you turn it down, it's still usable at that kind of contrast. Turn it right up and it's really nice, quite nice and sharp. The other thing is that this little circuit that I knocked up here, let me just spin you that around so you can see what I'm doing. This little circuit that I knocked up here, this is a little video inverter circuit, and that does sort of work with this. It needs a little bit more tweaking, but I'll give you a quick demonstration of what this little circuit does. Basically, it takes the positive video there and it inverts it, it turns it negative. So you've got a black background with a white cursor on it. I'll just quickly, basically I've just lashed this up now. It's parasiting its power currently from the 5 volts of the ZX81 here. It's not really an issue because it's not going to be drawing much current. You've got basically just 3 transistors and some passive components there. It's really not going to be pulling a lot of current from the 7805, so I've no worry about me doing this. But if we disconnect the video signal from there and we plug it into yes, we plug it into the board there, and this wire is our this is our input wire. Now, on the original thing it said to put it to pin 16 of the ULA. Now, if you actually do put this on pin 16 of the ULA, I wouldn't recommend that because you've far too much chance of shorting 2 pins together and potentially damaging your ULA. But I can do the same basic thing by just connecting it to the, I've got a little transistor amplifier in here. Very, very simple. I did explain how it was made in one of my previous videos. It's just a little 1 transistor and a couple of diodes amplifier for the ZX81. Without this you can't produce a video signal strong enough to run on a monitor. But what I will do is I will put this little circuit basically as though it was on the input of that. And we should, right, I can connect this up right. I don't know whether it's going to actually show on the camera, but basically it does work. And there we've got a very, very faint K in black with a white border around it. Now, if I go to the other side of the transistor, so it's actually being amplified by this circuit. This is not what this circuit was intended to do. It was intended to run straight off the M1 line. I'm sure if I was to pull that off and stop it loading the signal, I could get it a little bit brighter than that. But if I connect it to the output, as you can see, I have to actually turn the contrast down. As you can see, we actually have a black screen with a white cursor with a black K in the middle. Now, it's not quite as clean and as good as the proper signal, but it does actually work and it does actually give you inverted video. which I just thought was quite a cool little thing, and something I may actually build into this project, because I'm sure if you're doing lots of text, it's far less strain on the eyes looking at the black screen than at the white screen. Especially considering to get a good image out of it, you do have to have it very, very bright. I'll just quickly switch that back. Obviously I've had to turn it quite a way down there to actually get that to work, so I'll just turn it back up again. As you can see, we've got our cursor, our K is back there now. So I don't know how well this is going to be showing up on the camera, because it doesn't seem to like picking things like that up very well. But like I said, that is the screen I have actually decided I'm going to do this project on, and I am going to use the case that we showed the other day. And basically, this case will fit this screen in it quite nicely. It won't leave a lot of room for anything else. It's just going to be a big screen. So I know I really wanted a 4:3 screen for this project, but there were strange widescreen kind of displays back in the early 80s. So yeah, it wouldn't have been this technology. It would have been a much more basic matrix technology in the actual screen. But a wider screen like that, it would have probably been a lot narrower as well back in like the early 80s. But a wider screen like that isn't going to look too out of place. And after I've got the aesthetics right on what I'm building, it should actually look quite good. And of course, this screen, as we saw in previous videos, for some reason I can no longer get to output a colour signal. It's only really good for black and white, so this is an ideal use for it, really. I've also been looking at a few storage options for this project. Unfortunately, I've not found one yet that would work with the fourth that I plan to run on this thing. But for basic programs, I've found two possibilities. One's a little interface you can build for this, which will allow it to work with a Commodore 64 or VIC-20 disk drive. If you know the C64 and the VIC-20 disk drives, they basically run on a serial protocol, so it wouldn't be apparently it's not too much trouble to build an interface for this to allow it to talk to one of those disk drives. I believe it involves a replacement of the ROM and a few other little things you need to do, but apparently that is a certain possibility and something I'm going to look into for this project. The other thing was, now I haven't really looked at it yet, but I did find, excuse me, some basic plans and a ROM that someone's done to actually allow a ZX81 to work with a 3.5-inch 80-track disk drive. I think it only formats the discs to about 80K or something like that, but for a ZX81, 80K of storage is probably more than enough, and obviously you can have multiple floppy disks. It also only uses one side of the disk, so it could be quite an easy one to hack the disk drive and fit a head change switch to, so you could use both sides of the disk drive disk with something like that. I don't know, like I say, it's an option. I did toy with the idea of one of the MMC, the off-the-shelf MMC solutions for the ZX81, but I don't think that'd get me through the problem with fourth, as in, I think the interpretation, the whatever they're called, the version, sorry, of fourth that you can get available for the ZX81, I don't think support any of the possible disk options you could get. It's really a case of saving to tape, which I don't suppose is the end of the world. Like I said, my other solution with that little MP3 player would have been nice for that. In fact, I could probably even still do that and just have it in an external box that plugs in through the back or something like that to save. I may very well do that. I can make another little unit that fits on the side for saving the data. I could then possibly actually use that with other computers as well. That's possibly not a bad idea. Anyway, like I said, it was just going to be a really quick video, this, just to show that I do at least have a small LCD monitor now working with the ZX81, but like I say, it's not the monitor I was initially hoping I'd be able to use, which is that one. This is going to come in, and the other case for another project that I've got in the pipeline. I think we're going to do the once we've got the ZX81 project finished, I think we're going to do like the the next one up and do a Spectrum in the same way, because I've got quite a few orphaned ZX Spectrum boards with various different iterations. I think I've got original 48K. I've got I think I might have one of the black plus 2A Spectrum boards kicking about somewhere that the case was absolutely destroyed on in the post. So I could possibly have a think about doing something with that one instead. But that's for the future. I want to get this ZX81 project done for now. So like I said, as you can see, we now have a monitor option, which certainly does work. We've got the possible option of inverting the video on it if we want to do that. So I'm going to leave it there for now. So this was just a little quick update video. So thanks for watching and goodbye.